And we
See that?
are also live, baby.
All right.
Let's go.
Hey everyone, my name's Mark Korczynski. I'm here. Actually, here we'll do the live thing first.
We live.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bigmark podcast. My name is Mark Korczynski, and I am Bigmark.
Woohoo!
I just wanted to do this little video here just to introduce myself to everybody. If you're new to the podcast, if you've been listening for a while, this is just a little bit about me, who I am, where I came from, and it just if I ever do repeat myself as things go on, there'll be a little bit of a frame of reference. I was born here in Hamilton, Ontario. We're doing the podcast here downtown Hamilton, and it's really special because this is more or less where I grew up. I grew up in the East End. If anyone's familiar with Hamilton, near Ottawa Street and King Street. I was born in 1991. My mom, Janina, and my dad, Mark Sr., they had me end of March 31st, and the rest is history. But I grew up more or less in Hamilton, lived in Ancaster for a little bit, a little town outside of Hamilton, and went to school here, went to St. Mary's in Dundas. All my St. Mary's Crusaders out there. I went there. Since I grew up in the East End, I probably wasn't supposed to go to St. Mary's, but I went there for sports. A little about me. I'm a former athlete. I grew up playing basketball my whole life since I was a little kid, probably about 3 years old. I started playing basketball. My dad was huge in the basketball scene in Hamilton. I got into a little bit of competitive swimming too. And then near kind of, grade 8, grade 9, I started playing football, and that actually eventually got me into university. I went to University of Western Ontario, go Mustangs, and I played football there. Wasn't a starter, didn't really get on the field that often, but I was part of the team, made the best friends of my life there, had the best times. Played for the London Beefeaters out there. We won an Ontario championship. But it was great, and sports is still very near and dear to my heart. A lot of my friends became professionals, and it was really important to me in my development, and dealing with a lot of coaches, dealing with a lot of different personalities, becoming more coachable, was really important, and it definitely helped. The way I hold myself, the way I interact with other people, and I'm grateful for that. I'm generally a little bit of a taller guy. Since I was a little kid, I was 5'9" when I was 9, 6'4" in grade 8. By the end of grade 9, I was 6'7", so I'm still 6'7". Been that way most of my life. Helped me a lot in the basketball court, I'll tell you that much. But it's a big part of my life, and it's something that I was talking to our producer Christian a little bit about it. That it's part of who I am, in the sense that I realize my physical presence can be either intimidating or at least noticeable. And that made me think about how I'm perceived by others, right? And maybe some other people don't think about it as much, but it was something that I had to kind of work with a little bit. John Mayer, I once heard him say it takes him about 20 minutes to get back to like baseline. So people have all these preconceived notions about everybody, and he said it takes about 20 minutes before he can get you back down to knowing nothing about him, right? And I always kind of felt, once I heard him say that, I resonated with that, because I felt, it takes a little bit of work for me anyway, to convince other people, if that's the word, into pretending they don't know anything about me, kind of thing. So, and that helped me at the end of the day, big time, because, I feel that it's good to understand how people see you, right? And not too many people get a chance to, be kind of taken out of the norm, and be seen as an imposing figure, or whatever you want to call it. But that was really important for me to learn. And like I said, as I was going through school, when I went over to St. Mary's, I didn't really know too many people. I met all my friends in elementary school. We had a great time, but by the time grade 9 rolled around, I felt that it's time to move on and pursue sports a little bit more. My dad was very influential with that, and he, choosing St. Mary's, I kind of knew I was going to go there and have to meet a bunch of new people. So, being open and being agreeable, that's who I am really, and it's got me to this point in life, and I'm super grateful for everybody and everyone I met, and it allowed me to also branch out. I was kind of the guy in school that I had all my good friends, and whether they were the popular kids or whatever you can call them that, but I was friends with the music group because I played jazz band in high school too. Luckily, I was lucky enough to learn bass in grade 9 thanks to the Ontario curriculum. You got to do an art credit, so it was either drama, visual arts, or it was music. And I kind of already knew how to play guitar. I've been playing guitar since I was in grade 9, and so by the time I got into school, I was like, all right, I'm going to try and make my life easy here. I don't want to go too crazy. I kind of wanted to learn saxophone, but I was like, let's just go with bass. There's two less strings. It should be easier. Little did I know it's a whole other different world. But learning in grade 9, going through that. I didn't even take any music in grade 10. But then our music teacher, who was conducting the jazz band, actually came up to me and was like, Mark, you want to play in the jazz band? Like, I really liked the way you were playing grade 9. And I was like, sir, I didn't take any grade 10 music. Like, you gotta do like the subsequent curriculum or the prerequisites. He's like, all you have to do is a performance test and you're in. So gave me a sheet, I could read it, played the thing, got in the jazz band. Phenomenal. Grade 11, played in the jazz band, played on the basketball team, played on the football team at St. Mary's. And it was an excellent juxtaposition, and it was like I couldn't help but notice it because when I was in the jazz band, I had basketball going on. I'd literally be sitting in the music room, learning these songs, wicked big band jazz songs, in my basketball gear. I had my basketball shoes on, I had my practice jersey on, and I was like, it's time to go. As soon as jazz is over, I put my bass down. And the music room was right across the street from the gym, and across the hall from the gym, and I'd walk right in, someone passing the ball. It was like I was living, man. It was like the best of both worlds, right? Because I felt, and I think this is a general idea, that you can't really mix the two. People were fascinated by it, and I was like, you know what? This is what anyone can do. Don't feel like you need to be put in a box. Don't let anyone label you, because they'll all have their preconceived notions. Like I was saying, everyone's going to think that they know you before they even talk to you. But doesn't matter what they think. You got to just do what you got to do. And I loved music, and I didn't even think twice about it. And the only time the first time I should say I really noticed that it was a thing is during basketball season. Of course, during Christmas, because it was over Christmas time, so we were having a Christmas concert at the in the gym at high school, last assembly before Christmas break kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my whole school is there, 1,000 kids are watching, and the jazz band was playing for the whole school. So we did this little concert thing, and I sang "Baby It's Cold Outside." It was a double duet.
Nice. And
me and another guy and two girls sang in front of the whole school. I put the bass down, went up, and it was kind of my first time singing in front of that many people. And after it was all said and done, my coach came up to me and shook my hand. He's like, "Man, that took a lot of balls." And I was like, "You know what? I appreciate that, sir. Thank you." Because I didn't really see it as super courageous. It was yeah, I'm a little nervous or whatever, but this is what you want to do, so go and do it, kind of thing. But it meant a lot for my coach to come up and say that to me, and But then I again, like I said, I realized like this doesn't happen all the time. And music was always kind of with me. It was always something I did, you know, on the side. I always had a guitar with me. You know, once I got to university, I always had it with me, like in the dorm and like doing all that stuff. And I always wanted to be in a band. You know, in high school, a bunch of guys that we were in the jazz band together. We started a little cover band, Koalik and the Unseen, which was named after our physics teacher, actually. So Mr. Koalik, super nice guy, but a little spacey, so sometimes he'd just like stare out into nothing, and we'd all be like, what's he staring at, right? And that was the Unseen. So Koalik and the Unseen eventually became People of Freedom, named after actually my uncle's like band that he had when he was younger. And super fun. We just did covers and stuff, but you know, we got to play in front of the school for coffee houses and stuff. We played at this one bar because one of our classmates was doing a little charity gig. Super fun. The guitarist in that band was wicked. His name was Eric Persicchini. Beautiful guy. He played trumpet in the jazz band and was sick at that. And you probably give him any instrument and he was nasty. The drummer of our band, Justin Bonje, he actually went and joined. He went to Western as well. And he started a funk band with a bunch of his buddies, and they were phenomenal. Played all over the world. And his brother was in the band too, and they're doing some stuff right now, which is amazing. But like I said, it was always just something that, you know, whether I thought it was a dream or I just realized, you know, how hard it is to start a band. And, you know, but always just kept trying. When I was in university, I met a bunch of guys, and, you know, we almost started a band. There. Funny enough, some of those guys went on. Luke Taves, our drummer, he's like got a wicked hip hop career going on right now. A couple of other guys started, or actually Luke and our lead singer started the Heavy Heavies, which was a super sweet band. And then actually the guy who was going to play bass in that band, he went on and started this sweet pop punk band called Seaway. They're still killing it. They're playing like Lollapalooza and stuff, like going off, like wow. Really sweet. They just released a new album, which is unreal. And but like I said, you know, just kept. It was always kind of on the back burner. So I eventually graduated with a sports psychology degree. Kind of put that together there. I started at Western in kinesiology, and then morphed into psych, and then with all those credits, kind of created this sports psych degree. And you know, came out of it, started becoming a trainer because I was like, I kind of needed to go and do my master's to get some clinical knowledge. And I was working as a personal trainer. And actually, one of my summer jobs while I was still in school, I worked for Coca-Cola, and one of the guys who worked there was also a drummer. Him and I, you know, throughout the summer, we're always like, yo, we should get together, like let's jam, and like just, you know, kind of put it off, and then basically like almost the last 2 weeks before school, we got together. And it was me, his name was Luke Orman, is our drummer, and then our buddy Adam Rogerson came and joined. Wicked guitarist. Those two guys were best friends. They grew up together here in Hamilton, went to Hillfield Strathallan, went to Westdale, both went to Guelph together, super tight guys. And I kind of came in on the scene and we just like had instant chemistry, right? Like it was like super cool, just jammed like super casually. But at that point I really wasn't playing bass as much. I was kind of doing more guitar. But because Adam was already a guitarist, I thought, hey, like I'll bring my bass just to round things out, and literally and figuratively. But you know, we, like I said, we clicked. But then we had to go back to school. So they went off to Guelph. I went back to Western for my last year, and by the time we got back, we're like, hey, like let's keep going, let's keep playing. So you know, a school year later, we get back together, we keep jamming. We played a concert that summer, actually with one of the guys that was in Koalik and the Unseen. He had started a band with some of his buddies, and they asked us to come and play, and it was wicked. We went under the name Kids with Guns, which I still think is a wicked band name, but not everyone else loved it, which is totally okay. Then we kept talking. We said, like, let's give this a shot. Like, let's really try. So the three of us, I can sing, Adam can sing, but we're not nearly as good on our instruments when we have to sing as well, because it's just a bit more of a distraction. Obviously, you can't put all your might into singing. So we got together and said we need a lead singer. So they had a buddy that was really good. He was supposed to join, didn't really work out, and then all of a sudden we met this other guy that they went to high school with. His name was Alex DeRue, and he already had a bit of a project going on already. So we're like, this is gonna be great. He's got a little project going on. He's got some songs written. We need a lead singer. He needs a band. Match made in heaven kind of thing, right? So we get together. We're jamming. Things are going really well. We were called Elexir. Switched our name to Strathcona. Super cool. Ran into a little bit of legal trouble with the name, but whatever. For like 3, I think almost 4 years, we really gave it a good shot. And then, unfortunately, kind of came to a little bit of an abrupt halt, which was a major bummer. However, we had this opportunity to start this whole new band. So myself, Luke on drums, Adam on guitar, and Katie Allinger, phenomenal lead singer. Actually, Adam's girlfriend, she joined in, and we started a new band. At the time, it was called Fine Lines. Again, got a little bit, ran into a little bit of legal trouble, so we changed it to Wide Isles, like islands. And we got some songs recorded. We did a wicked video with my buddy Jesse Kachenka, who's a phenomenal cinematographer. And things are great. Unfortunately, right now we're kind of on hold because Katie's got some vocal issues that she's just resting her voice and stuff. But it's always been that music is still there. I still want to pursue it. I still have the plan of potentially going back to school for the masters. But I really, I think there's a reason why music was always kind of with me. I think it's really important that there's only 2 places I've ever felt that like flow state, that where everything's lining up, things are kind of going slow motion, and it's either on the field or the court or on stage. And that interplay between other people, is just phenomenal, and can't get enough of it. And if I can do it for the rest of my life, I'll be the luckiest man in the world for sure. But like I said, since I was 9, I was playing guitar, and thanks to my pops for handing me that guitar. And at some point, sports was the most important thing to me, and I respect it more than anything. And right now, music's the most important thing too, right? And I've as I kind of grew up and stuff, I started kind of was always into classic rock when I was kind of younger, right? And there's a lot of subject matter in that, kind of that gets into the abnormal, gets into the avant-garde, gets into the alternative lifestyles and stuff. So I was always really interested in mind expanding drugs and things like that. And I didn't really start smoking weed super early. I started probably in between grade 11 and 12, just again with sports. I didn't really have time. Not a lot of my buddies were doing it. And I started smoking weed, and it was amazing. This whole this whole thing. It's just changing. You can just put a little bit of a shine on everything, right? And I wasn't doing it a lot. And once I got to school, they used to test us on the football team, so I couldn't really do it too much during football. But then after, again, I had a good relationship, with cannabis, and started trying other things like psilocybin, mushrooms and stuff. And that was really important, because biggest thing it taught me is that, as much stake as we put in this reality, as much as this reality that we see with our eyes and hear with our ears and sense with all of our senses, it's as real as it possibly can be. But all you have to do is take a small amount of this chemical, introduce it to your brain, and then all of a sudden things are very, very different. So it was really, to be able to be a little bit older and because I think I was probably in, I don't know if it was first or second year when I first tried mushrooms, but I think it was first year, because again it was second year, because you couldn't smoke weed, but they didn't test us for mushrooms. So so we went for it. Me and my buddy, we went to go see April Wine. The first time I ever did it, I did 3.5 grams, which is like a pretty sizable dose for anyone who doesn't really know anything about it. It's a solid dose. You're gonna feel it. It's a macro dose if we're gonna talk it like that. So I totally felt it. It was awesome. No real negative side effects at all. But again, it was really interesting to learn that about my own reality and about my own brain chemistry. And again, throughout my education, learning a lot about neuroscience and neurochemistry, I learned that the brain is meant to be modulated. It's modulated by our own natural processes, but if you have some agency over that, in my opinion, it's because some people kind of look at it like you're giving up control, you're losing this control, but again, you're really, you're consciously deciding to change up your reality, which, I completely advocate responsible psychedelic use. You gotta know your set and setting. So you really gotta know where you are, who you're with, what your mindset is already, and then who and where you're doing it with, because I think that's the most important thing. And a lot of people have had bad trips, quote unquote bad trips, or challenging trips, and that comes from not really understanding your place, or again the power of these mind altering chemicals, and whether it's LSD or whether it's other psychedelic drugs, they're not really to be taken lightly, but take it. Like Terence McKenna says, take it easy, dude, but take it. And I truly believe that you can learn so much, not only about your own psyche but about other people. And introduced me to the fact that, or introduced me to the idea that we're all connected somehow through nature, even just other people, how we all affect each other. Like a practical example of it was, I remember being in an upper year sports ethics class. It's one of those lecture halls, super packed, maybe 50 seats, but every seat is completely taken. And we're sitting in there, and our prof is explaining this midterm coming up. And it's like we had to write like 3 full-length essays in an hour and a half, like however long, like a midterm usually is, which is usually how long, like not even an hour and a half, it's usually like an hour, right?
Right.
So people are kind of shook, right? It's not, it wasn't too daunting, but we're a bunch of kin kids. We're not really used to like writing too much. Everyone's kind of getting shook. And I just started feeling like super nervous. And I'm like, why do I feel so nervous? Especially when I was playing football, everything else seemed like a walk in the park to like then get my friggin' head bashed in, for like an hour or whatever. And so I'm like, why am I getting so nervous? And I look around, I'm like, it's because everybody else is nervous. And then once I acknowledged that, it was just like whoosh, washed away, because we're all experiencing life as a human together. We all see each other as individual islands, but we're part of this, even if it's as simple as we're part of this one species, that there's something that connects us all together. And in a lot of work by Rupert Sheldrake, he talks about the morphic resonance. Carl Jung talks about collective unconsciousness. All that stuff, I truly believe is kind of what you start to glean from some of this responsible psychedelic use, is that you start to kind of see the actual practical aspect of some of those ideas that are really abstract to people who haven't walked down that path of psychedelics, for sure. And it's something that I talk about a lot, and I'll continue to talk about in this podcast forever. With a lot of my guests. Hopefully I get to do a lot more of these one-on-ones too, and just talk about certain things, right? And like I said, at the beginning of this podcast, I talked about if you're new to the podcast, you've been listening for a while. This episode, you can come back, you can learn a little bit about me, you know, and more will start to come out. But you know, as I will eventually go on to repeat myself over and over again. Just wanted to give a little context to everything too, right? And you know, little things here and there are going to come out, but you know, those things are really important, right? And music, sports, psychedelics, all that stuff is huge. And you know, again and again, I'll come back to some of these themes, and that's the way. You know, I want to take everyone down that path. I want to expand people's minds. I want to expand people's experience, and you know, hopefully, in some ways, make the world a little bit of a better place. You know, kind of one person at a time. But like I said, I hope you guys keep listening, and I love you all, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.